which are to be implemented or which were to be implemented in Wipro. Before that, we had discussed the guidelines of Infosys also. Now we will be talking about the committees. There are various committees which are to be constituted by each and every company under the Companies Act 2013. So these committees formation is mandatory. It is statutory, it is compulsory for all the companies. If they fall under a particular category, they have to constitute these committees. So Nomination and Remuneration Committee, Audit Committee, Corporate Social Responsibility Committee, Stakeholder Committee. So these committees are considered as the mandatory committees, 4 committees. In addition to these mandatory committees, other committees may be appointed by the company. It is not that only these committees the company or the organization can constitute, but apart from these 4 mandatory compulsory committees, other committees also, if the company feels that if another companies are included or constituted, then it will be better for the organization. Then they are having that freedom, they can constitute those committees. But these 4 committees that now we will be discussing are to be constituted in each and every organization compulsorily, because under Companies Act 2013, it is mentioned very clearly that these committees have to be constituted. Now, the Audit Committee, we all know the functions of the Audit Committee. In detail, we will be discussing very shortly. Now, what is the role of Nomination and Remuneration Committee? That is, again, first we will discuss in brief in 2-3 lines, and then we will discuss in detail about the role and function of these companies. The Nomination and Remuneration Committee is expected to ensure, among other things, that remuneration arrangements support the strategic goals of the business and, more importantly, conduct the performance evaluation of every director. So here, in brief, we can understand why this committee is constituted. What is the major role of this committee? So the major role of this committee is 2 major roles are there. One, the committee is responsible for nominating the directors on the board, and the second is that it also takes care of remuneration to be paid to the directors. Not only remuneration paid to the directors, but it also takes care of evaluating the performance of every director, and then it has to give suggestions to the board of directors that who are the directors involved in the board whose salary can be increased, whose incentives are to be increased, and who are the people, who are the directors on the board whose performance is not up to the mark, so their remuneration should be not only it should not be increased, it should be capped at as it is, or they may recommend decrease in that increment remuneration also. So that is the role of Nomination and Remuneration Committee. In detail we will be discussing very shortly. Next one, the corporate social responsibility. would formulate the corporate social responsibility policy of the company, recommend the expenditure that can be incurred for this purpose, and monitor such policy of the company from time to time. Now, you might be aware of that now it is compulsory for each and every organization, if it falls in a particular category, if the turnover of an organization is more than dash dash dash, then it is compulsory for that particular organization to do some social responsibility, and that is under corporate social responsibility. So 1% of profit, 2% of profit, 5% of profit, or 10% of profit, it is fixed. It is expected that this much of amount, this much of profit which the company has achieved, that is to be invested in corporate social responsibility. Various types of corporate social responsibility can be performed by the organization. That is, then they can do other social service related activities. So these activities they can perform under corporate social responsibility. Just give me I'll be back in a minute. Just give me a minute. Yes, sorry for that interruption. Yes, so we were talking about the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee. So that committee, the role of that committee, we all are. I hope that you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So the role of corporate social responsibility is to look after the activities which the company is performing in the field of corporate social responsibility. It can be related to, say, uh, taking care of some particular downtrodden area, or providing school facility, providing street light facility, providing the water facility to a particular area which is lacking in that facility, construction of school, or providing, say, school related articles to the students, school related items to the students. So various type of social responsibility can be done by the organization. So this particular committee has to take care that whether the organization, if the organization has allotted, say, 1 crore or 5 crore or 10 crore rupees, that this fund they will be using for corporate social responsibility activities. Now this committee's responsibility is that first they have to shortlist the activities which they will be undertaking under corporate social responsibility, then whether these funds, the fund which was allotted, is properly used for these activities. If it is underutilized, then why it is underutilized. So all these things, all these records, they have to prepare and they have to present it the meeting of board of directors. Next one is the stakeholder relationship committee would help to resolve the grievances of the security holders of the company. Stakeholder relationship. Now, shareholders are considered as one of the stakeholders of the companies. So here, the stakeholder company will concentrate on monitoring the relationship of the shareholders and the company. Whatever the company is promising, whether the company is delivering or not. Suppose in the annual general meeting of the company, if it is decided that this much percent dividend will be shared with the shareholders, whether that is actually implemented or not, or if it is communicated that 5% will be shared and 4% is shared, or 3% is communicated and 2% is shared. So these malpractices should not happen. This gap should not be there between the company and the stakeholders. So that is the responsibility, that is the role to be performed by the stakeholder relationship committee. Apart from this, the most important other committee is called as audit committee. We have discussed some part of audit committee in our earlier session also. So now we will be talking in detail about these committees. Now here they have mentioned very clearly that whether all the companies which are registered under the Companies Act 2013 have to constitute audit committee, or is there any limitation that if your company's value, paid up capital, share capital is more than this, then it is compulsory. Otherwise, it is not. So that we are first going to discuss, and then we will move on to the role and responsibility of audit committee. So audit committee, so under Companies Act 1956, every public company in India having paid up capital of not less than 5 crore was required to constitute an audit committee under section 29A. So here now we are aware that the paid up capital should be more than 5 crore, then the company is has to constitute a committee. Now this was introduced in the year or by the Companies Act 1956. We all are aware that drastic changes were made in the Companies Act 1956 in the Companies Act 2013, and a revamped Companies Act was introduced in the 2013, which is also called as Companies Act 2013. Now here it is mentioned the audit committee's mandate is significantly different from what was laid down under section 29A of the Companies Act 1956, and its scope and constitution has also been broadened. The act mandates every listed company and certain other classes and class of company to constitute an audit committee. Now here various things are changed, their role and responsibilities are more broadened. Now what those roles are that we will be discussing here. Now here how the roles are broadened. All the public companies with a paid up capital of 10 crore rupees or more has to constitute this audit committee. All the public companies having turnover of 100 crore rupees or more have to constitute this. And which are the companies, we will not be reading all the rules and regulations for constitution of the audit committee. We will be sharing this. on our portal. You can download it from our notes portal. Now, composition part we will be discussing. The audit committee shall consist of minimum of 3 directors with independent director forming the majority. What does it mean? That if three are the directors appointed at the audit committee, in the audit committee, majority of the directors should be independent director. What does it mean? The meaning is very simple, that from the three, 2 directors shall be independent directors. Now, why this particular clause has been introduced? The reason is very logical and very simple. Independent directors are not involved in the day-to-day functioning of the company, directly or indirectly. They are there in the company only because of their expertise, because of their experience, because of their knowledge in that particular field. Whereas if we talk about executive directors, that is CEO of the organization or general manager of the organization or chief operating officer of the organization, they are working in the organization, so they are involved in the daily affairs of the company. So if more people are from the company who are included in the audit committee, the level of transparency or accountability may get adversely affected. To avoid this, it is mentioned very clearly that minimum 3 directors have to be appointed in the audit committee. The company can appoint, say, 4 directors. It depends upon the organization policies. But minimum 3 have to be appointed. It cannot be 2. One CEO is appointed at the chairman at the audit committee, and 1 independent director is appointed. So only 2 directors are appointed in the board, in the audit committee. So this cannot happen. It is mentioned very clearly that minimum 3 have to be there, and majority means 2 should be. If 3 are there, 2 should be the independent director. Suppose if 4 are there, then what should be the constitution? It cannot be 2 plus 2. It has to be 1 plus 3, because we are talking about majority. We are not talking about here equality. If equality is there and 4 directors are there, then we can say, yeah, okay, 2 will be from the executive director's side and 2 will be from the independent directors. But as we are talking about majority, and if 4 directors are included in the audit committee, then very easy that it has to be 3 independent directors and 1 executive director. Now, how these directors should be? Now, it is mentioned very clearly that qualification wise, experience wise, these directors should be financially literate people. Financially literate means that the person who is appointed as independent director in the audit committee shall have thorough or good knowledge about finance. It should not happen that one who is of a IT company, that independent director is having a very expert knowledge in the field of IT, but that director, that person does not have sound knowledge of finance. included in the audit committee, then we can very easily assume that the person will not be able to contribute effectively in the audit committee. Why? Because he is misfit for this particular audit committee. So that could be the one reason why it is mentioned very clearly that are to be appointed on this board, they should be financially literate people. Now, again, one very important thing which we have to discuss is the chairman of the audit committee shall be an independent director. Very important, because we all know that chairman does have more authority as compared to the members. You take any committee, even if you take the committee outside the purview of corporate governance, say any other committee which is not related to, say, corporate governance. If we talk about the selection committee of Indian cricket team, there also there might be, say, 10 selectors there and one chairman of that particular committee. Now, there is a different authority which the chairman of this cricket selection team and the rest 10 selectors are having. The authority of selectors is definitely going to be less than the authority of the chairman. So chairman enjoys more authority. Final decision is to be taken by the chairman. So everywhere the scene is same. We cannot say that the all the members of the committee and the chairman all are having same decision making capacity, all are having same authority. So here authority varies. Now, to put the control of the committee in the hands of independent directors, it has been mentioned very clearly that the audit committee is to be presided by the independent director. Otherwise, what will happen? Suppose minimum 3 directors are to be appointed, 2 independent directors are appointed, one executive director is appointed. Now, this executive director is also the chairman of the audit committee. Then we can very easily find out that even though the members, if we talk about the strength as member, there are 2 directors who are independent. But if we talk about the authority, these two have less authority than the one because of the position that person is enjoying. Position is of chairman. So that is why it is said that chairman of the audit committee shall be an independent director. It cannot be the executive director. Then only the committee can be called as a powerful committee. Whatever they see, or if they find any irregularity financial statements, immediately they can brought it to the notice of board of directors. If the independent director is the chairman, if the independent directors are given more power, what will happen if more power is given to the company director, or we can say executive director? Then what will happen? As and when the executive director will come to know about the financial irregularity, he will first, if it is very minor, he will try to overlook, he will try to ignore that financial irregularity. One reason, that could be one option. Second option, that he will try to correct that without bringing it to the notice of the board of directors. Why? Because ultimately he is responsible, he is handling the company, he is the supreme authority of the company. So his image will be affected, his performance will be affected, that under your leadership some wrong information is prepared, wrong financial information are being prepared, or irregularities are happening in the financial department or in other department of the company. So this person, if given more power, definitely will try to solve the matter at his level only without bringing it to the notice of the board of directors. But as the independent directors, number wise they are more, authority wise they are more, so they are very powerful here. So whenever they find even a small irregularities which they feel that if it is not corrected now, if it is not controlled now, it may escalate in future, which will not be good for the interest of the company. Immediately they can prepare a report and they can bring it to the notice of the board of directors, and strict action, corrective action can be taken against the person or against the department which is responsible for preparing that false statement. So that is why the chairman of the audit committee is always an independent director. Now here they have mentioned that meetings of the committee, how many meetings the committee shall conduct in a year. So, as per the revised clause, audit committee should meet at least 4 times in a year, and not more than 4 months shall elapse between two meetings. So, it is mentioned very clearly which is to be followed. It is not that 4 meetings shall be there. So, first meeting is conducted in January, second meeting is February, third meeting is March, and fourth meeting is April. All the 4 meetings of the year 2022 are complete, or 2021 are complete. So this way, the meetings cannot be conducted. How the meetings are to be conducted, that is also mentioned very clearly. कि कब कब मीटिंग होनी चाहिए, फाइनेंशियल ईयर कब खत्म होता है, उससे पहले होनी चाहिए या उससे बाद होनी चाहिए, हर महीने होनी चाहिए या कब होनी चाहिए, दैट इज एवरीथिंग इज मेंशन्ड वेरी क्लियरली. वन मोर थिंग इज मेंशन्ड एंड दैट सेज दैट इट शुड नॉट हैपन. 4 महीने का, 2 मीटिंग के बीच में 4 महीने से ज्यादा का समय नहीं होना चाहिए. Now decorum of the quorum of the meeting. I hope that you are aware of the term quorum of the meeting. Can anybody tell me what is quorum of the meeting? What do you understand by quorum of the meeting? Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is quorum of the meeting? It is very easy. Quorum. the students who are doing financial specialization, they shall be aware of this. आप लोगों ने काफी बार पढ़ा है, इसीलिए आपको पता होना ही चाहिए और दूसरे स्टूडेंट्स को भी पता होना चाहिए. नो? Okay, quorum means that how many members should be present in a meeting to make that meeting a valid meeting, which can be noted down in the record books, and that is called as quorum. That if 3 directors are included in the audit committee, then when they are meeting, how many directors shall be present, which will make the meeting a valid meeting, which can be recorded for the record purpose. Now, there can be chances that, say, on the day of meeting, because of some emergency, the director is not feeling well, or he might have met with an accident, or he is down with some illness, or his one of the family member is not well, or he is in some another city or country. Because of emergency in that particular city or country, he is unable to come down to the country or the place of meeting on that particular day. So this situation may take place anytime with anyone. For that, it is mentioned very clearly. It is not that if 3 directors are there and if one of the director is not present, then the meeting will be cancelled. The meeting may take place in the absence of one of the director. So how many directors should remain present out of the complete directors? Suppose 3 directors are there, then how many should be present? And in that, how many also, what shall be the number of the independent directors? It is mentioned very clear, and that is called as quorum. So here it is mentioned that suppose if 3 directors are there, among those 3, 2 are independent director, 1 is a non-independent director. In that situation, it is said that if 2/3 people are there, then the meeting can be continued. But the condition is that in this calculation, minimum 2 independent directors shall remain present. तो जिस दिन मीटिंग थी उस दिन 3 ही लोग हैं, वी विल अज्यूम कि 3 ही डायरेक्टर्स हैं ऑडिट कमेटी में, एक नॉन इंडिपेंडेंट है, 2 इंडिपेंडेंट है. जिस दिन मीटिंग थी उस दिन जो एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर है या नॉन इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर है वो नहीं आ पाते हैं, तो भी मीटिंग वैलिड मानी जाएगी, बिकॉज मेजॉरिटी पीपल आर देयर. अब सेम सिचुएशन है, पर यहां पर अगली मीटिंग में एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर आ जाते हैं, दूसरे इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर आ जाते हैं. जो तीसरे इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर है, जो तीसरा मेंबर है इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर, सेकंड इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर, because of some emergency that person cannot make it to the meeting. So in that case, the meeting cannot be continued, the meeting has to be cancelled. Why? Because it is mentioned that minimum 2 independent directors shall remain present. तो एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर नहीं रहेंगे तो मीटिंग कंडक्ट हो सकती है, पर इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स 2 कम से कम होना बहुत जरूरी है. अगर 3 इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर हैं और 3 में से 2 आ गए, 4 लोगों का वो ऑडिट कमेटी है, उसमें से 3 इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर हैं, 1 एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर है, In this situation, if two independent directors are present and one executive director is present, then meeting will be considered as valid meeting. So minimum two directors who are independent directors shall be present at the meeting of audit committee to make that meeting a valid meeting. Now all these things you should be aware of, that what is happening. Now on social media platform, all the students are more active than us, right? So last week there was a news which was related to this corporate governance only, that one of a high profile person, a lady was there who was controlling the business of Nifty. Earlier, that lady had performed roles or very important roles in SEBI and National Stock Exchange also, NSE. A very important news related to that lady, some Natrajan. Sorry, I'm unable to recall the name of that lady. Anyone who has read that news? कि हमारा जो स्टॉक एक्सचेंज रेगुलेट हो रहा था, वो कैसे रेगुलेट हो रहा था, कैसे कंट्रोल किया जा रहा था, उसके ऊपर एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग आर्टिकल आया है जो काफी वायरल भी हुआ। शायद काफी लोगों ने पढ़ा भी होगा, आप लोगों ने, पता नहीं कितने ने पढ़ा या कितनों ने ध्यान दिया या नहीं दिया उसको। एनीवन हु हैज read that article? I'm unable to recall the name of that lady. हाँ, किसी ने पढ़ा है क्या? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No. So please note that whenever you find such articles, such information, please read it carefully and try to bring that information for discussion in the class. Suppose 15-20 students are present in the class, and out of 15-20, if 3-4 students have read something which has recently happened and which is very much related to the session, get that information for discussion. Not only you will be increasing your knowledge, but you will be helping others also to increase their knowledge. It may happen that this particular thing will increase the knowledge of the teacher also. So please start doing that. So I am unable to recall that name. 2-3 days back only I have read that article, but um, I have saved it also, but it is there on the laptop. So I'll just give you in brief about the story. So a high profile lady who was controlling the Nifty, then she resigned. I think in the year 2016 or 2017 she resigned. Now when she resigned, she was earning salary, a package of 4 crore or 4 to 5 crore rupees. one of the highest package in the country was given to this particular lady who was very efficient, very talented, very capable. And because of that, she had, say, enjoyed positions at various top organizations, organizations related to NSE or SEBI or Nifty, all these organizations. Now, sometimes what happens is people often get too much influenced by someone. Now, under her tenure, one person was appointed at a higher position in Nifty or in the National Stock Exchange. And later on, it was realized that that person was not having the qualification required for that position or the experience required for that position. So, a search was, or a committee, they started making an inquiry, and that committee was under SEBI, Security and Exchange Board of India. So the finding of that committee gave a shocking results. Now, this chairperson, earlier Nifty chairperson, Natarajan or something was her name, she has appointed the person to that highest position on the instruction of a saint, Saint Baba, who was in Himalaya. He was there, and this particular lady was very much influenced by that Baba. ऐसा होता है ना कि दो चीजें भविष्य की बता दी और वो सही बैठ गई, तो हम लोग किसी के ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा विश्वास करने लग जाते हैं. कभी कभी विश्वास अंधा हो जाता है, और जो बाबा हो सकते हैं, कोई योगी हो सकता है, कोई भी, कि हम लोग आंख बंद करके उन पे विश्वास करने लग जाते हैं. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ इलिटरेट लोग या जो इतने पढ़े लिखे नहीं है वो ही अंधविश्वास की तरफ भागते हैं या बाबा की तरफ भागते हैं. जब सेबी ने इंक्वायरी की, जब पता चला कि क्यों इस व्यक्ति को प्रमोट किया गया, जिस व्यक्ति के पास उतना एक्सपीरियंस नहीं था या उतना क्वालिफिकेशन नहीं था उस पोजीशन के लिए, तो जो टॉप ऑफिशियल लेडी थी उसको बाबा का फोन आया कि इस व्यक्ति को अपॉइंट करो, और उस बेस पर वो व्यक्ति उस पोजीशन पे अपॉइंट हुआ. Now, why we are including this example? Because in corporate governance, it is expected that rules are to be implemented as it is. No one in the organization or at the board level also is given the authority to change the rule or overrule the rule, which we have seen in this example. Try to find out more information about this. You will get very easily the information because it's a very recent information, and then you will be able to understand that how a very educated person can also be influenced or come under influence of someone, and that person can also take some decisions which are not appropriate at all. Now, these things should not happen. That is why the rules and regulations are prepared and it is mentioned on the website of the company that how things are to be implemented in a particular organization. It is not that only private organizations are putting the corporate guidelines on their official website, but the government organization do have these strict guidelines mentioned very transparently, very clearly. But still, because of some reason, often the highest authorities appointed by the government, they make some undue changes which are not required, and that is where the corporate governance guidelines comes into picture, because the guideline says that everything should be transparent. सारा जो भी रूल है वो पारदर्शी होने चाहिए. जो रूल है वैसा ही अगर इम्प्लीमेंट होता है, प्रमोशन सिर्फ परफॉर्मेंस के बेस पर होगा. अगर आपका परफॉर्मेंस इतना है तो आपका प्रमोशन हो सकता है. अगर आपका परफॉर्मेंस इतना है और अगर पॉलिसी है कि इंक्रीमेंट 5,000 से होगा तो होना ही चाहिए. देन ओनली वी कैन से द सिस्टम इज ट्रांसपेरेंट. The rules are to be implemented as it is, without any molding, without any changing. So to make the functioning transparent, more authority is given to the independent director in the audit committee, that these things should not happen. ऐसी कोई भी माल प्रैक्टिस ना हो, इसीलिए ज्यादा अथॉरिटी दी जाती है इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर को. Now, functions of audit committee. We will discuss the function of audit committee. The recommendation for appointment, remuneration, and terms of appointment of auditors of the company. Now, very important, the appointment of the auditors who will be auditing the financial details or financial statements or financial records of the company. Their appointment is to be done by on the recommendation of the this audit committee. Plus, not only their appointment, but what will be their remuneration. कितना उनको पैसा मिलेगा. अब कितना पैसा मिलेगा तो कम भी नहीं होना चाहिए और बहुत ज्यादा भी नहीं होना चाहिए. तो एप्रोप्रिएट पैसा. इतना कम नहीं मिलना चाहिए कि एक अच्छा ऑडिटर मना कर देगा, नहीं इतने कम पैसे में मैं किसी कंपनी का ऑडिट नहीं करता. बिकॉज if you are appointing auditors, you should see to it the talent or caliber or expertise of that auditor also. एक ऑडिटर शायद 10,000 में भी आता है, दूसरा ऑडिटर 5,000 में आता है, तीसरा ऑडिटर बोलता है मैं 25,000 लूंगा, उससे कम में मैं नहीं करता. अब अगर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को ऐसा लगता है कि हम 25,000 इजीली दे सकते हैं और हमें अच्छे से ऑडिट करवाना है, और ये जो 25,000 वाला ऑडिटर है, ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चेक कर चुकी है कि he is very talented, he has expertise in doing audit, and last record also has been checked by the committee. Now, in this situation, this person can be recommended by the audit committee, because the ultimate aim of the committee is that there shall not be any irregularity in the financial department or other department of the organization. But it should not happen that the fees which is charged by the auditor is so heavy that it is not possible for the company to pay, or it is beyond the capacity of the company. कंपनी का प्रॉफिट ही नहीं हुआ है इतना, पिछले साल कंपनी लॉस में चल रही है, और अगर वो व्यक्ति बोलता है कि मैं एक दिन के 25,000 रुपए लूंगा और मुझे 15 दिन लगेंगे पूरा ऑडिट करने के लिए, और ऐसा लगता है कि नहीं इसमें तो फिर बहुत पैसा लगेगा, उतना कंपनी दे भी नहीं सकती, इन दैट सिचुएशन somebody else should be searched by the other auditor can be searched by the company. So here the committee has to keep all these things in mind while recommending the auditor. ऐसा नहीं है कि जिसने सबसे हाईएस्ट कोट किया है उसी को हमेशा रेकमेंड किया जाना चाहिए. क्यों हाईएस्ट कोट किया है वो चेक करना बहुत जरूरी है, उसका प्रीवियस रिकॉर्ड चेक करना बहुत जरूरी है. Whether the company is in a position to pay this heavy fees of the auditor, that again is to be checked, and then the recommendation is forwarded to the board of directors. ऐसा नहीं कि आपने आपके पास अथॉरिटी है तो आपने कुछ भी रिकमेंडेशन कर दिया. यहाँ पर क्लियरली मेंशन किया गया है कि रिकमेंडेशन आप कर सकते हैं, आप डिसीजन नहीं ले सकते हैं, पर रिकमेंडेशन भी वैलिड होना चाहिए, इनवैलिड नहीं. Review and monitor the auditor's independence and performance and effectiveness of the audit purpose. Again, very simple. The committee has to review, has to monitor whether the auditors who are appointed, whether they are performing their job as per norms or not. Effectively, they are doing their job or not. That is to be monitored, that is to be checked by the committee, audit committee. Examination of financial statement and auditor's report thereon. जो भी ऑडिट रिपोर्ट प्रिपेयर किया गया है वो ऑडिट रिपोर्ट ऑडिटर्स के बाद फाइनल होने के बाद वो ऑडिट कमेटी के पास जाएगा. ऑडिट कमेटी भी उस रिपोर्ट को चेक करेगी. क्यों ऐसा कि पहले ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट बना रहा है, फिर ऑडिटर्स चेक कर रहे हैं, ऑडिटर्स के बाद ऑडिट कमेटी चेक कर रही है. This is to ensure that no minor financial irregularity is also present in the statements. Next one, scrutiny of intercorporate loans and investments. दूसरी कंपनी से या कहीं से अगर लोन लिया गया है या कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट हुए हैं तो वो इन्वेस्टमेंट बराबर है क्या, वो कहीं इन्वेस्टमेंट पर्सनल यूज के लिए तो कोई यूज नहीं कर रहा है. That is to be checked by the audit committee. Valuation of undertaking of or assets of the company whenever it is necessary. Valuation of the undertaking and assets of the company. Company, suppose company is not doing well, or it is in near future, it can be seen that as the company is not doing well and some other company has approached the company for takeover, for acquisition, in that case it is the responsibility of the audit committee to do the assets valuation of the undertaking or assets of the company. Valuation of internal financial controls and risk management system. So that evaluation of internal financial control, that is who is controlling the financial department, who is reporting to whom, whether everyone in the organization, particularly in finance department, whether they are performing their job as required or not, it is to be checked by the audit committee. Monitoring the end use of funds raised through public offers and related matters. Now, this is again very important. Monitoring the end use of funds. If capital has been raised by selling the shares, then the capital which is raised through capital market, whether that capital is properly utilized or not, that is again to be checked by the audit committee. Now, role of the audit committee. So that we will be discussing in our next session. We will not be discussing all the roles. We will be discussing the important roles, and then we will move on to the remaining three important committees or mandatory committees, which are compulsory, constituted by all the organizations that we are going to discuss in the coming session, in the next session. So thank you everyone for being present in today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.